Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight. We are here live with Brenda and Katie. And we have
Yay!
all kinds of people that are joining us already. So we want to say hi to Meg and Katie and Ashley and Jennifer and Linda, Connie and Pamela, Oren, and I keep getting pop ups. Cindy, anybody else, whoever else is out there and hasn't said hello, please do so. So tell us where you're from. Tell us if you're pre-op, if you're post-op,
hmm
and we'll just kind of start with some introductions. So I'll introduce my first self first, and then I'm going to introduce Katie here. So for those of you guys who are haven't joined us, let us know too if it's your first time or if you've been on a call with us before. And I apologize, I lost my voice this last week. I kind of think it's allergy related. I was traveling the last couple weeks
Gosh.
and I came home and I kind of just felt kind of a little bit crummy, but I took a COVID test and luckily that
hmm
was negative. But I think it's allergies. Like here in the Midwest, there is pollen everywhere. It's so crazy. But for those of you who don't know me, a little bit about my background. Basically, I'm my background is in nursing. I worked for a bariatric surgery clinic for about 7 or 8 years. This was my last job, and through that, I just found a true love for this type of population. I actually had weight loss surgery back in 2013 myself. I had the vertical sleeve gastrectomy, and I love doing support groups. I did a lot of support groups with I was the primary person for our facility when we were doing those. I went back to school and got a certification in life coaching just because I love personal development and I love empowering people like you people here who are on this call, who have made some major life changes. To me, it's so exciting because it's like you've pushed yourself past something that you didn't know that you could do and are getting ready to.
hmm
And I mean that's a little bit about me. I want to say too, there's some more people joining, so I'm going to say hi to everybody who's joining here. It looks like Katie from Ann Arbor, Michigan, 10 months post-op. Diamond she says hello, everyone. Cindy says Katy, Texas, post op. Nicole says post op, Rouen Y in 2018, Durham. Um, North Carolina, first time here, so welcome,
Oh,
welcome. Ashley says she's from Missouri. Hey, Ashley, because I'm a fellow Missourian myself. Enid's with us on a lot of our calls. So hello, Enid, and Connie's from Ohio. And Connie, I don't know if you were in the Ohio group today that posted that you were going to come. Somebody from the Ohio Bariatric meetup said they were going to be here. If that was you, great. If not, I'm just so happy that you're here. Oren says Fergus, Ontario. So we have some people from Canada. I love that. And post-op sleeve. Katie says at Meg Stinek. I'm jealous. I wish I was watching from Honolulu. Yeah, Meg. Oh, Meg is here with us. I forget. Yes, Meg is going to be on one of our calls coming up, and she's in Hawaii right now. She is
gosh.
from Scottsdale, but she's watching. I scrolled down. I didn't even see that. So, anyways, keep saying hi and keep chatting. And I just want to say, you guys, we are so fortunate. Katie, I'm just gonna brag on you because I just love you so much.
Gosh.
She is like she's a dream dietitian because she has so much experience with bariatric surgery patients, thousands and thousands. She's very much into the educational part. We were just talking before the call, and she's going to be traveling and talking, doing 3 sessions. Oh my God. For the American Society for Metabolic Surgery, their conference. It's an international conference coming up soon,
Yes.
and she's preparing for that. So you guys are fortunate to have her. And Katie, tell us about your experience and a little bit more about you.
Sure. And Brenda, I'm like, I'm going to give your voice a rest, my
I need a
friend, for a
rest.
second.
Thank you. I'll drink some water.
Yes, yes. So my goodness, I've been a dietitian for 14 years now, and all of those years have been spent within bariatric surgery. So I worked for a very large healthcare system here in Southern California, Kaiser Permanente, and I was with them for 10 years. And I was their lead bariatric dietitian for all of Southern California. So I, gosh, probably saw like 8,000 people go through surgery. And in those 10 years, I consulted on any difficult cases. I was like their expert in terms of education and also writing like guidelines and vitamins and everything under the sun. And then in 2019, I kind of did everything I wanted to do there. I still love working with people going through bariatric surgery. So obviously continue with that even till today, but decided to kind of go out on my own. And so now I have a virtual private practice and I do education and training and public speaking and all of that great stuff. And so, yeah, I just kind of come to the table of letting people pick my brain pretty much. I think that I know Brenda, you and I have like just spoken behind the scenes too. And I'm like, ask me anything. Like a lot of stuff of what we're trying to do to support ourselves going through surgery. I didn't have surgery myself, but I just kind of look at it of like, anytime we're trying to support this process, it's good to know what's going on in yourself in your own body. And then also why you're doing something. I mean, right? I don't know. I'm a why person. So if someone says, do this, I get really feisty and I'm like, why? What's going on? So that's a little bit about me. In some ways, I'm sure there's more things, but Brenda, I'll let you
well,
go
and
for it.
two, I mean, a couple other things too. I mean, she has been like Nick, who's our CEO of the ProCare team. ProCare Health is a bariatric supplement and vitamin company, and they're supporting us being here today. So we really thank them and appreciate them. And I actually work with the ProCare Health team. They Nick has worked with Katie for some time. Katie's helped with whenever we've been creating some of our new vitamins. She's helped with that. She's helped with giving us advice on what would a dietitian want in products. Like she's helped us with that. She's done one-on-one classes for the ProCare team on all different subjects by Zoom to help educate us. I mean, we appreciate that on all different kinds of subjects, on anything under the sun, because we got to be informed too, you know. And I don't know how much you've been advertising it, but I mean, she actually wrote a whole course for professionals to be able to use and train on because, you know, guys, I can tell you whenever I first started in a bariatric surgery clinic working as a nurse coordinator, every different line, and I'm sure it's like this with being a dietitian, every different line of where you work in a field is very different. I'd worked in emergency medicine for like 20, a little over 20 years, and I'd done quality management. So I was way out of my realm, and I would have loved to have a Katie there to help me whenever I was first starting. There's so many questions because it's a little bit, I mean, it's a very diverse field, and there's a lot of things to know about starting. Fortunately enough, the surgeon that I work with was very helpful in helping train us, you know, along the way. But so that's, I mean, those are some big things. So
Thanks. I always forget
yes,
about all this stuff. So
there's probably a ton more that we're not even talking about here. I know there is.
I'm sure. But I'm happy to be here. And so please, everyone, I know like we're chatting here tonight, protein, but definitely put questions of if there's stuff in your mind, because I want to make sure that I also help to kind of address that. Maybe I jumped the gun there, Brenda, but it's
No,
good to
no, I
kind of
want
know.
you to. Absolutely, because there's just a lot of times there's questions. Katie's very much very knowledgeable about gut health in general, also as well, and hormones, like if there's an issue related to hormones related to bariatric surgery. She's very much about that. The talks that she's going to be giving here coming up at the ASNBS, we were just talking about that, is on pregnancy and bariatric surgery. And you told me gut health. That was one
Gut
of
health.
them. And then what was
Yeah.
the other one?
Breastfeeding.
Breastfeeding.
After, yeah.
Yeah. So, I
So,
mean, there's nothing that's untouchable in the dietetics field of bariatric surgery. And I also want to say hi. There's some more people that kind of joined on and said hello. Let's see here who I might have missed. Cedric from Columbia, Missouri. Jessica says, "Good afternoon, everyone. I'm from Atlanta. Looking forward to get my surgery scheduled." That is exciting times. That gives me goosebumps because that's like the very beginning stages. It's exciting, and hopefully this will be really helpful for you. Angela, 8 months post-op from Virginia, and we have Nicole says thank you. Diamond says Diamond from Atlanta. Pamela Dare, Missouri, gastric bypass, July 2019. Pamela, what part of Missouri? Because I'm actually from Perryville. It's a really small little town, but it's south of St. Louis, a couple hours. And so Enid says I sound sexy. May just have to keep the voice.
yeah. Want to make sure that you don't lose it.
Yeah, well, I want to say too, there's a couple things to start, and then I'm just going to turn that thing over to you. I want to say, number one, guys, we are going to be talking about all the essentials to protein. Like the most frequently, we kind of pick out the most frequently asked questions, like what are macros, like carbs to protein ratios? Why is protein important? Should you supplement protein in your diet, or should you try to go for real foods? Best ways to supplement if you are supplementing. And then like how to pick a protein supplement. And this is one thing we've not really shared too much yet, but I'm really, really excited about it. Brittany and I and the ProCare team, we rented an Airbnb a little while back. It's probably been a couple months ago, and we had a filming crew come in and help us with some videos on recipes. So they filmed us, and we're going to be showing a couple of short little cuts of the videos on 2 protein recipes, and then I have a third recipe for you guys that I just found here on our website, all related to protein. We're also, if you stick to the end, we have a discount code for you guys joining us for some money off for any products from our sponsor. And I just want to say, if you have to jump off the call at any point in time, I am a big replayer. I don't know about you, Katie. Like, I listen to podcasts all the time, and I listen to all kinds of replays. Do you? I'm very much into that. So if any point you got to jump off, remember where you left off and just come back and listen to the replay, because this will be on replay, the same link. So that's me. I'll shut up for a little while. I'm just going to let you talk.
Okay. All right. Well, so I think I'm going to start talking protein a little bit. Kathy, I see your question about hormones and all that good jazz. So I will come back to that. And by all means, anyone else, if you have questions, pop them in there. I'll make sure we flip back up, in a hot second or something. So, gosh, okay. So I think always when I start into thinking about protein and protein related to bariatric surgery, I think through a couple things. Okay. First and foremost, why do we need protein after surgery? And most, often people think like, okay, that's my easy way to get my nutrition, and protein helps me stay fuller longer. And absolutely, that's part of the picture. The other part of the picture is that it helps with our tissues, so wound healing. And I always think through like, oh my gosh, we have incisions. We want our incisions to heal both inside and outside. I also think through as well for protein and just looking at the balance of nutrients and balance of vitamins and minerals that are going to come along with that protein supplement. And so at the very beginning, right after surgery, we don't have a lot that is able to go in, right? Like those of you who have gone through surgery and those who are preparing have probably heard, but at the very beginning, it seems almost like a pinhole that you're trying to get fluids in, water, protein supplements. And so those supplements are really, really utilized right at the beginning, especially because we want to make sure that nutrition goes in there. And it is that kind of far reaching part that we want to make sure we preserve as we're losing weight, preserving also our muscle mass, because we want to keep our muscles, lose other things. So I always think we want to preserve, we want to keep what we want to keep, and we want to lose what we want to lose. And our protein supplement will help to be able to do that. So that's in part like just even thinking through like, well, what are we doing and why are we doing and what makes sense for that? And so at first, those protein supplements are utilized really just exclusively. And then once you are able to start adding food in there gradually, you're then able to kind of balance it out a little bit, right? You're like, okay, can I get some protein foods in there? And maybe I lessen my protein supplement, or I balance this out a little bit better. And that's where your dietitian can actually really help to kind of guide where that switch off comes in. Because even though we think protein so much, I will say I'm usually keeping, personally, how I practice, I'm usually keeping someone on a protein supplement for a little bit of time longer. Or at least, the amount of protein supplement use, because I want people to get used to protein foods, vegetables. Like I want all different rounded out nutrients within my food. So there's a little bit of like juggling there right at the beginning. Long term, and I know that this is a huge kind of question because not all protein supplements are made the same, right? You go to the grocery store or wherever, and I'm sure there's the shelves filled with all different ones. And there's certain ones that are usually recommended maybe by your surgeon's office or your dietitian, or even maybe a friend who went through weight loss surgery. Mm-hmm. And those recommendations hopefully are specific to support someone after surgery. And how that kind of looks, and maybe what I'm, looking for is since I know that I'm not getting in food and other sources, right? Or at least not a lot, let's say, I want to make sure that protein supplement includes all of my amino acids, so all of my building blocks of protein. I want to make sure that my supplement includes the amounts that my body needs. So if one's missing, it's really hard for my body to make that up. It has to come from somewhere. So, and we have certain, let's say, amino acids our body makes, and certain amino acids our body doesn't make. So the ones that our body does not make needs to come from a supplement or from food. And if you have very little wiggle room, we want to make sure that it's in your protein supplement so that it's not borrowing from muscle or borrowing from tissues. So when people, let's say, if that fit isn't right, what I've seen in my experience is that if someone is on a protein supplement that's not complete for quite some time, so I usually see about a month or 2 months, actually, what some of the things that come up for people is they'll say, gosh, I'm really hungry, like because their needs aren't being met. So all of a sudden they're like, I'm really hungry. Is this supposed to be right? And that's in part why I go, oh, let's evaluate. Let's take a closer look at this. Or I'll see that someone might say like, oh, I'm really tired. Someone might say that their cravings go up, and it's because we're not getting in like those baseline needs. So our body's incredible body systems, but they will borrow, they will give you cravings, they will like kick you in the butt to say, hey, this is what I need to be able to work and survive. So that's why those protein supplement kind of choices can be kind of particular. And that, I know I'm usually trying to help someone and guide someone into like, right, flavor. Does it taste good? Do you like the feel of it? All of those great things. But I'm also looking behind the scenes of, hey, is this complete? And is this going to be a good choice for after surgery so that all the bases are covered? We're not thinking through that. Did I explain that okay, Brenda?
Yes, yes. No, in fact, I'm so glad you brought that up because just from experience being around bariatric surgery patients, they talk
Mm-hmm.
everybody talks amongst themselves because you want to share what's working for you.
Sure.
And what I've heard a lot of people, those things are what make people choose the supplements. You want to have a good taste, you want to have a good flavor, you want it to mix well, you want to be able for your stomach not to hurt, like
Sure.
you want to make sure that you stay satisfied. But not all the time do we think about it being the right kind of protein. Like
Yeah.
I have to say, like,
Yeah.
not all the time is that really discussed because people probably don't even know. Like, as a bariatric surgery patient, you may not
Yeah.
even know like what is the best, like, when you're choosing a supplement. So what you're
Yeah.
saying, from what I understand, from what you're saying is, because some dietitians feel differently about this. Some programs might
Sure.
feel, I mean, you probably have heard it too. I know I have. Some programs say, try to get as much after that initial phase, try to get as much of your supplementation or much of your protein from your food, which obviously is true. But what you're saying is it's okay to supplement and may even be helpful. Is that what you're saying or
Yeah.
not?
Yeah. What I see is like there's this really like there's a transition time, right? So there's a transition time after surgery where you're just getting in liquids and then you're going into um, blended food and then soft food. And as you're going through those different stages of advancement after surgery, there is, your whole digestive tract is getting used to how to break things down. So just think whenever we learn something new, right? So just think like you're learning something completely new. And just know, like, right, we're really slow at that. If someone was like, okay, right now we're going to do a math equation that I have not done since algebra in seventh grade, I can tell you it is going to take me quite some time to sit and think through that. It's like this new skill, even though it might be way old. Not saying how old it is, but way old. So, so with all of us, like, we're just, our digestive tract is learning essentially a new skill after surgery. So it's going to be slower. So we're not going to get in a lot at first. So it's kind of like this transition where I always am like walking the fence of like, how much are you getting in through food? And I'm going to even say the vegetable part is important too, because that's going to give us fiber. That's going to keep our bowels moving. That's going to keep a healthy gut health. And so I even kind of look and I'm like, oh gosh, there's this like kind of fine line of where I'm looking around and trying to make sure that we're getting in some supplement to make sure like our bases are covered. And then we're also working on the, hey, let's use food as reteaching our digestive tract. So at first, when you're getting in maybe like 3 bites at a time, I look at that more than anything of like, oh, we're using that to relearn our digestive tract, how to digest. And still our nutrition needs are getting in through our supplementation. And then we'll gradually switch that over as time goes on. Or I'll say lessen our supplement because for a lot of people, they'll go, I really like this supplement that I have in the morning. Like that's how I start off my morning. And that's a really good
Mm-hmm.
fit for me. And I'm like, okay, cool. And then our other needs are met through food. So there's definitely ways of working with your supplement and working with what also feels right to support you ongoing from surgery. Because it's, surgery is the the day of surgery, but we also have really wonderful, awesome lives that continue to happen after surgery too.
And I am kind of like, so Katie, there's actually quite a few questions that are coming in
Yeah.
that kind of go along with what you're talking about. And
Yep.
thank you guys. Some of them
Cool.
are posting. So the reason why I'm taking some of the questions and posting them in the Q&A, because if anybody
Oh,
needs to
thank you.
pop off at any point, these are time stamped. Like I'll timestamp them onto the
Oh,
video
great.
so that you can go directly to the question. So I'm going to
Cool.
do done answering on the protein supplementation for right now. And then the one question here, the next one I have as far as related to this is Fairlife protein shake okay? Let me okay, is Fairlife
Because
protein
it's
shake
left.
okay? I drink because it's lactose free. I will say I know a lot of people that choose that as a protein shake.
Yeah. Yeah. So evaluating, I'm going to step back because I actually have been trying to figure out Fairlife for a while. So I'm not going to give you such a great, or let's say a direct answer. So to evaluate a protein supplement, truly, I have to get what's called an amino acid profile from the protein supplement itself and then calculate. Most of the time it's not on the bottle, it's not anywhere, and I have to request it. So I have not actually gotten that official information from Fairlife. So I haven't been able to actually go and do the proper math with it. So I go, oh, I'm on the fence of actually giving an official answer just because I don't have all the information that I usually need. I do want to talk about the lactose free part because I want to just kind of address that we're looking at like what means, what is something if it's labeled lactose free or if it contains whey, does that mean that it has lactose in it? That's a really big I see that question a lot or a big confusion around it. So there's so in making, let's say milk, we have whey and we have casein. Okay, those are our two kind of proteins that create a milk product. And typically, you're trying to filter out the lactose in that. Part of the reason why someone will be suggested a whey protein isolate after surgery is a couple reasons. One, it's filtered multiple times. So it removes the lactose and also removes most of the fat components that we're wanting in it. So it's relatively low fat and then lactose free. So, and sometimes it's not labeled like that on a front label. So I do want to put that out there that most of your protein supplement products are lactose free when they're a whey protein isolate. A whey protein concentrate is actually not as filtered. So typically that still includes lactose. So it might be something to just take a look at on your label, on your ingredients label of like where that protein source is coming from. So whey protein isolate, and it should be written down. So is it a blend of wheys? Is it the isolate form? And that will also help to know about the lactose situation in it too.
What is weight? What is Fairlife? I'm going to look it up here real quick.
Yeah, I'm not, and that's why I'm saying, like, I know, like, I've requested, but and that's why I
You don't
hesitate
know.
because to give an actual, to be very, like, right, I love to have data. I love to be like, yes, this is it. This is all the things.
It just says
And I
highly.
don't
It
have
just
all
says
that information
high
on me.
quality protein, but it doesn't.
Yeah.
I
That's what
can't
I'm saying. I
tell.
don't have all the information, which just makes it tough. But, if someone's getting in their protein from other sources too, then sometimes you can get a little bit of wiggle room with that. So I just kind of put this like out there of just some things as we're all learning. And believe me, there is going to be protein supplements are made and created all the time. So I'm always trying to stay as up to speed as possible. But I love to get the data so I can actually be like, yes, I've reviewed for what I'm specifically looking for. So But at least the lactose part, I'm like, there's other ones that are lactose free too, but it just can kind of help with that choice in there as well.
Yeah,
So
okay, I'm gonna do so on that one. It's kind of have to just do some
lengthy.
more research to find out exactly what's in it. There are.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep going through the questions if this is
Let's go for it.
okay, Katie. Okay.
Yeah. We're chatting here
So
tonight.
I'm gonna. How much protein is recommended daily? How much protein is recommended daily?
Okay, so I'll say at least 60 grams of protein. It's usually recommended and daily. And then it's calculated, or it should be calculated for each person. So I tend to kind of calculate for most people between 75 and 85 grams of protein for most people. That's where it ends up. But calculation kind of yourself. And I know we've done actually some lives too that I'm like, I put like calculations up there
Yeah.
for people to kind of take a look. And so, so where I would say per day, at least 60 grams. You can ask someone to calculate it for you. They shouldn't be able to do that. And then, or if you're working with someone, absolutely, they should be able to calculate that for you. But that I'm usually like ballpark is usually around 75 to 85 grams for most people.
That's a great answer.
Yeah.
There's a couple other proteins that are mentioned here. Linda says
Yeah.
protein 2O. I'm sure you've heard of them.
Uh-huh. Yep.
That's one of her favorite go-to drinks.
Okay.
And then Premier Protein.
Okay. Sure.
Any thoughts on either of those? I think those. I've heard a lot of people say good things about both of those.
Yeah, yeah. So protein 2.0, it's that one's considered a clear liquid one. So it's they mentioned the grapefruit flavor on here. So, whenever I'm looking at something and let's say I'm trying to determine like, is it a clear liquid or full liquid? If you hold it up to the light and you actually see light coming through, that's what's considered a clear liquid. So the protein 2.0 is like thinner, clear liquid. And so with that one, that is a whey protein isolate on that one. So I'm like, don't mind it at all. The only thing that I can say is it's 15 grams of protein. And for someone right after surgery, it's a lot of volume for that many grams of protein. So just think if we're trying to get like 60 grams, like that would be
Be a
quite a bit
lot
of
of bottles
those.
of. Be a lot of bottles of water. I
Yeah.
guess if you're including it as not really so much as your protein supplementation, but mostly your fluid
Yeah.
intake.
Or
But
if you're like, if you're a bit out from surgery, it would get easier time, like you're easier able to
to
get
get
in
in.
volume. So
Okay.
I just like think through these things because I'm always like, right, we always have to match things up. And so like that one maybe wouldn't make sense for right after surgery because it's hard to get in volume and we want to get as much like bang for our buck in a smaller volume amount. But absolutely, it's a useful one. And then Premier, I want to say Premier is a blend, I want to say, of protein isolate and whey protein isolate, whey protein concentrate. And I think it has more concentrate to it. So I do know that it contains lactose. So for some people, they have a little bit of harder time because of that and that lactose intolerance. But that one's oftentimes or can be used afterwards. So again, like I don't know. I kind of, and it looks like someone here is also asking about Undri too.
Yeah.
Undri is a whey protein isolate. And so, I definitely like no lactose in it. I'm all going off the top of my head with all of these. So I'm surprised my brain's working like this, but I'm like, Undri I think is isolate. Um, and so pretty much tolerable for a lot of people. And so, yeah, and then also I always have to look at this as like, you want to get a variety, even right before surgery, people try things and they're like, okay, this is my one. And I'm like, cool, that's great. But we also want to think through like variety, because if you're doing 2 protein supplements per day after surgery, and just think like for the first 3 months, oh man, you could really love something and then really not love something.
Yeah.
So sometimes, and then taste buds can change too. So sometimes I look at all of this stuff like, hey, we want a variety. We want, things that we like or can mix, or maybe if we're doing half of one and half of another, or this flavor in the morning and this flavor and type in the afternoon. I always want to make sure like we have that thought process going on too, so it doesn't feel so boring or so much, that then we are like, then we don't get it in, because that's actually worse. It's worse to hate it and then you don't get it
Yeah.
in.
It's so true, and I think too. You brought up a huge point. I mean, you got to look at. I mean, especially when you're pretty close out, you want to look at the quality of protein. You want to look to make sure it's sort of kind of concentrated, and like has a lot of like a fairly large amount of protein in what you're
Yeah.
getting for the volume, because that's really
Mm-hmm.
important. It's going to be hard. You're also going to want to look at you're going to want to try different things. And I would say it's
Mm-hmm.
hard because a lot of these protein supplements come in these really big volumes.
I know.
And it makes it hard because if you buy a
Yeah.
big volume, but having a few little things, because what you like before surgery may actually be different than what you like after surgery. How many people
Right.
say that?
Yeah.
Okay, question again here. Let's go to the next one. There's some questions. There's two questions that are non-related to like exactly what we're talking about first. So I'm gonna kind of get. Um, I'm gonna actually hit those here in just a second. But
Okay.
this person
Yeah.
says the post-op people, when you leave out the house, what's your go? So I guess they're saying when you're post-op and you leave your house, what kind
Oh,
of maybe supplementation would you want to bring along whenever you go? What would be an easy thing?
yeah. Yeah. So ideally, I can say this. Ideally, you're going to get your most straightforward protein from a supplement, meaning a drink supplement. So people do ask about bars, so I should just kind of mention that. With bars, you tend to not get as much protein for the volume and the calories and all of that stuff, because they have to do a lot to make a bar like taste good and you can bite into it and it's not hard and all of those things that actually is a lot more involved. So a bar, I would say, gosh, I would use it and have it as like emergency break glass, like if you're stuck out and about. But ideally, if you're leaving and you're like, yep, I know I'm going to be out for the day, like make yourself a shake and take that with you. Um, and then that's what I would kind of, I don't know, determine. And then obviously shake wise, my gosh, there's so many. And so I know I kind of mentioned some here, but I'm usually shake wise looking for whey protein isolate is my protein source. I'm usually looking for at least 25 grams of protein. Okay. But at least above 20. And this is all label wise. I'm looking for carbohydrates, usually, let's say like 5 grams or less. Okay. At most 5 grams. And then third, I'm kind of looking to as far as like sugar or added sugar content. So I want that really low. So I want that like 1 gram or 0. So right, there's all different stuff kind of that I look through in terms of just those are some easy checklist things that I'll look at in terms of supplementation.
Thank you, Katie. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Here's another one too. And I'm gonna say we take about 5 minutes of more questions, and then we're kind of gonna
Yeah.
go into recipes here too.
Cool.
So we're gonna
Yeah.
try to answer as many of these as we can. So Christina says, I had the surgery December 2017 and lost almost 300 pounds. I'm struggling with lack of energy and always tired. What can I do to help the issues?
Mm. Okay. Well, first of all, awesome. Yay. Thank you, Christina, for being here and sharing your journey. I mean, awesome. So,
Yeah,
lack of
it's
energy and always
amazing.
tired. My gosh. Couple things I might think about. I would think about, are we getting enough calories? And I know that sounds really surprising, but there is like too low and too high. So are we getting enough calories? What is the quality? I also look at timing during the day. Like, are we getting calories in throughout the day, or does things kind of sit on each end, like morning or late at night? I also then could do a whole deep dive into like sleep and sleep quality and what does that look like for you overnight? And is that kind of the root of that part? And then because I do so much gut health and hormone stuff, I would want to take a look at that to see if all of your I think of like hormones, they're messengers in the body. So I want to make sure, like, is everything communicating with each other? And then probably the last thing too, like, and I'm just thinking quality, but like vitamins and minerals. So a lot of times people feel great after surgery, and then they'll go like, oh, okay, I feel great, and I'm eating, and everything looks really healthy. So they'll stop taking their vitamin, and vitamins, I look at them as preventative. So we want to use them to prevent from something going low because it's harder to get them back up once they're low. So that might be a thought process too of like, hey, well, what vitamins are you on? Are you absorbing them, or is something missing there? So evaluation. Sorry, Brenda, go.
No, no. I mean, I was just gonna say, yeah, I'm agreeing, and I would just say too, there's
Yeah.
a million. Sometimes I think it's really that's one of the hardest questions I think too, because there's so many directions that fatigue can come from. It can come
Yeah.
from a million and one things. A lot of those things you
Hmm.
mentioned, and
Yeah.
sometimes lab work will help with diagnosis of that or figuring that out. But I
Yeah.
think like talking with a provider or a dietitian in person and
Yeah.
like really kind of like looking at a lot of different things, lifestyle, can be super helpful.
Yeah.
And it looks like to, oh my gosh, there's so many questions. I'm going to just kind of hit, okay, so we have a couple comments too.
Oh,
Hydration helps with energy. Um,
absolutely. I missed
rather
that
drink,
one. Thank you.
yes, my multivitamins helps with energy. Been faithful taking ProCare. Well, good, Linda. I'm
Oh,
glad that they're helping you.
awesome.
Um, okay, I'm gonna focus, and then there's somebody who is asking about. Let me see what I'm trying to figure out how many more of these to take.
Sure.
We can answer them fairly quickly if you want to pop through a couple of them. How many
I'll do it.
questions do you recommend daily? How many
Question.
calories?
Calories?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. I'm going to figure that out for each person, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
That's so ideal because we need to know age, sometimes gender, workouts, how far out you are from surgery, what you're tolerating, not tolerating, and then any sort of medical history. That's what I'm evaluating with calories. So, in all honesty, whew, I don't have one set answer with that one.
Okay. Um, what protein recommendations do you have for vegetarians? What kind of protein would you recommend?
Mm. Okay, so I will take a look, and I'll usually kind of, because I want to make sure that it's complete. I'll usually look for a blend. So I'll usually look for a pea protein along with like a brown rice or a hemp protein. They have a couple blends in there. So I, the reason why I'm trying to look for that blend is because I'm trying to hit the marks of those amino acids. So most definitely there can be vegetarian sources. So absolutely. Is there one off the top of my head that my gosh, I'll maybe do, Plant Fusion. That's probably one that also tastes all right too. There's some other ones as well, but yeah. So, but I'm looking for the blend with it.
Yeah, because hitting those amino acids is
Hmm.
important, and not a lot
Yeah.
of protein products that are vegan have all the essential amino acids. So if you
Hmm.
don't get them in your protein powder, just as long as you're getting them in your other foods.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. And if you're able to, and you're far enough out from surgery that we're not just relying on supplementation, then it's like an easier, like we can do that a little easier. But if we're just relying on supplementation, then we want to make sure we hit those marks. But work with someone. I definitely have worked with people where I'm like, okay, tell me what we're looking for, and I, I'll go to the drawing board for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I
Hmm.
got another one. This is
Hmm.
Kathy Hill from the very beginning. She asked, I'm getting
Yeah.
questions from postmenopausal women who are weight loss surgery patients if there are hormone values established for them versus menopausal women.
Okay, so I'm assuming that hormone values, you're meaning estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. I'm assuming it's not like thyroid stimulating hormone or insulin, that's a hormone. So, right. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm just making some assumptions there, Kathy. But if in terms of hormone values for like our three major players, like there is different value established through lab work for estrogen, which they're usually testing estradiol, progesterone, and testosterone. And so what usually happens is when someone gets like their lab work back, underneath it, it will be like postmenopausal, this range, premenopausal, this range. So it's usually already on that work, or that lab work. So hopefully I
Okay.
answered that. And Kathy, if not, just reach out to me. I'm
Yeah,
like, the hormone part's
she said female
complicated.
hormones, and we're gonna get
Yeah.
have Katie's information here in a little bit.
Yeah.
So if anybody wants to reach
Yeah.
out and talk with her individually, she does schedule virtually too appointments. So
Yeah.
it's helpful. And so I've researched. This is someone saying it's Byra. She said I've
Okay.
researched IV rejuvenation for like B12, biotin, and other vitamins. Is this okay for bariatric surgery patients? So B12, biotin, and other vitamins for IV.
For IV. So, I mean, certainly you can get it through IV. Not all of your vitamins can go through IV. So, in my head, I always think like, is that something that you want to do that's convenient? Are you looking for extra support on a regular basis? What are you doing for like your trace minerals and your other vitamins in the meantime? And if you are doing like a bariatric formulated vitamin, then you might have all your bases covered. So, is it safe? Sure, it's absolutely safe. But sometimes I think through of like, oh, what's happening, or what's going on, or why would we need that additional part happening? Um, and if it's like because you're not able to get in your multivitamin or something else is going on, then maybe we should look at like the root of what's going on to help further.
Yeah. I think B12 is always a go to for so many
Sure.
people because
Yeah.
they think it gives them energy. But like whenever we were looking at lab work on patients all the time post op, and a lot of times B12 levels were sky high because most of your bariatric vitamins, I know ProCare's,
Mm-hmm.
they have, like in just our one a day, we have enough B12 in those. You don't have to take additional supplementation.
Yeah.
Some people don't absorb it well though, so they have to take other forms,
Mm-hmm.
sublingual or by shot. So there are other
Mm-hmm.
forms out there available. So like Katie said, it just depends on you and if it's something you really needed, but you also need all those other vitamins too. So
Yeah. I just always I get curious. So because there's things that we can do that are like band-aids. Of course we could do something. But
yeah,
I'm also thinking longevity, and I'm like, oh, if you have to go and you're doing an IV and that's for a really long time, that might be just not doable. So
Yeah,
let's
it would
look
be
at
hard.
what's going on
Uh,
underneath.
I'm like gonna scan through this just real quick.
Sure.
Um,
Sure, sure,
Somebody, I
sure.
think you might have answered this before, but whey protein concentrate and whey protein isolate. Um, this person says I use neutral, lean, and it has both. So, like if you have a mixture.
If you have a mix. Yeah, so with that mix, so just separate, whey isolate is filtered. So the filtration process takes out the lactose. It also is the most straightforward protein. So like I'm guaranteed that on the label, it is telling me like if it's 25 grams, like it's filtered and that is my body is straightforwardly absorbing 24 to 25 grams. Okay.
That's
With the
on the that's on the isolate.
on the isolate. So
Okay.
then on the other hand, concentrate, not as much filtration. So usually has a bit more fat components to it. Also contains lactose with it as well. And it's not as filtered of a straightforward protein. So, so with that, we might like if we look on the label and let's say it's 25 grams, I'm going like, oh gosh, I could be absorbing and utilizing between about 20 grams to about 24, 25 grams. So there's just a little bit like more variation and more variable of what your body is going to absorb and use. So when they blend it together, what they're doing is they're just taking isolate and concentrate, blending that. And so, right, so you'll get like a middle ground. So that's where I'm kind of looking. I'm like, yep, you're going to have some lactose in there, not as much as just a concentrate. You're going to have some fat components, not as much as just a concentrate. And then, as far as your body absorbing and using, you have a bit straightforward and a bit that needs help filtering it out. So, yeah, but
Okay.
blends are common. So,
Perfect. I'm going to do done answering. And I think we're ready to share a recipe. Is that okay, Katie?
yeah, let's
Is it
do it.
okay?
Let's do.
Okay, guys,
I'm here
these are
for
short
recipes.
videos. I'm praying that the video comes through and it's very clear. So say a prayer here for me. And I'm going to share my screen. And the very first one, guys, that we're going to be doing is a strawberry cheesecake protein shake. Okay. And I have made this a dozen times now since we did this video shoot because I fell
Cool.
in love with this recipe. So I'm going to kind of go here. Oops, that's my recipe. That's one of my recipe cards. Disregard that. So I'm going to do full screen here for just a second. You know
Cool.
what? Actually, I need to make sure. I'm going to stop sharing because I need to make sure that I turned on the volume for the sound. So let
Oh,
me
yeah.
try that one more time with the sharing of the screen. Share system audio. Okay, let's try this one more time, guys. I'm going to go down to this into the YouTube video and we're going to make it big so you guys can really actually see it. And
Cool.
here we go. This is
Hi, this is Brenda from the ProCare Health team, and today we're going to be making a strawberry cheesecake shake. We're going to be using our ProCare Health vanilla powder along with some bananas. These are all frozen. You could use fresh if you prefer. Some strawberries. We have some almond milk, or you could use the milk of your choice. And our protein powder is in our little scoop here. And we're going to be using Greek yogurt. Now, I chose for this recipe Chobani strawberry cheesecake flavor because it actually has its own little flip topping. If you do not have the Chobani flip, you can try using some graham cracker crust for your topping as well. So next we're going to go ahead and add all of our ingredients directly into our blender. So I'm going to put in the frozen bananas, the strawberries, the almond milk, the protein powder, and I'm going to just spoon my Greek yogurt right on top. Okay, next we're going to turn on the blender, and I'm going to use our pulse just to kind of see. And you just watch basically until you get it blended well. So. Okay, we're all done blending. We're going to take this off, and we're going to pour it out. Looks so good. I'm going to save just a little room for some whipped cream at the top. And I have my graham crackers left from my topping. I'm just going to sprinkle those on. And I have a strawberry here to make it feel extra special. That, and drink it with a straw.
Okay. That
So
was fun.
good.
So that actually the recipe, I'm going to share the link in the ask a question feature. There, I put that as a question. So let me go to that. I'm switching a lot of screens here. Sorry, guys. So the link for this, I'm going to copy that from where we just were. And the recipe is actually linked to the video. So it's in the comments of the video and in the main section of the video. So I'm going to put that under here so that you have it. This recipe actually it's pretty, like when you guys make protein shakes, one thing that I've noticed is like it's so much volume. Like I've had to really work to get my volume down. That was actually almost like 2 protein shakes. For a bariatric surgery patient, may have been 3 or 4. When you look at the calorie count and everything that's in it. So, you know, you could freeze part of it or you could put part in the refrigerator. Some things make it higher calorie. You know, that Chobani flip yogurt is really good, but it does have a little bit more carbs in it than some of your other Greek yogurt. So depends on what you want for your macros, you know, and that type of thing. Do you have anything to say about that, Katie? I mean,
Yeah, I mean, no, one, adorable. You are a star. Um, looked so good. I've not tried that recipe yet. So good. I'm going to have to try it. And yeah, I mean, you know, oftentimes it is kind of like you use your blender and then, oh my gosh, you get so much volume. And what I
yeah.
noticed too, and maybe my quick tip for people is that when leftovers are in the refrigerator or freezer, they tend to lose moisture. So you might want to add a little bit of extra water to it before you freeze or to it before you refrigerate it. So then it doesn't get as thick when you have it for the next day. Just a little, that's sometimes a little bit helpful. So.
Yeah, no. And 2, I think the texture changes. Like when you,
Yes.
let's be real, when you put it in the refrigerator or when you put it in the freezer, for me, I have a really hard time drinking something that's not fresh. But it's just one of those things. I like mine with ice or frozen stuff. Now, if you're fresh out of surgery, most programs aren't going to recommend, or pre-op, some of them won't recommend that you have any fresh vegetables or fruit in your shake, right? Fresh pre-op or post-op. You know, you may have to wait until your body's able to handle those things.
Sure.
Is that right?
Sure. Absolutely. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Because right at the beginning, just think like as all your tissues are healing and everything's coming together, you don't want our stomachs work to break things down. So they move to break things down. And at the beginning, as you're healing, you don't want your stomach or really your digestive tract to have to work at all, because you want it to just heal. So at the beginning, there'll be like, hey, no fresh fruit, no this, because of trying to make sure that that healing process is able to happen and that you're safe to be able to take foods in like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so true. So I'm glad you kind of said more on that lines.
Yeah. Well, we're safety people. I'm like always a
Yeah.
safety. I'm like, I just want this experience to feel safe and positive for everyone. So there's sometimes those recommendations come from a place of just like, oh, hey, like we're just trying to make sure things are healed or things are in the right spot or
Yeah.
whatever before moving forward. So yeah.
And it does make a difference too, like how you blend it, whether you use a blender versus a shaker versus just stirring it. Those are all different variations, whether you use milk versus water versus, all those different things. Try
Yeah.
different things. Okay, we ready for the next one, guys? I
Mm,
would.
I am.
I'm just gonna say I was not sure about this one. This one, I'm still not 100%. It took a little bit of because I did not taste test this recipe before we went live and did this video shoot. This is a very unique recipe. It's a protein brownie recipe. It was originally labeled as vegan when we did it, but it's not 100% vegan because we're using our the ProCare protein powder, which it has the whey protein isolate in it, so it's not 100. I mean, it has just a tiny bit of. It's filtered, but it has. You can't say it's 100% vegan, I guess, is what you might say. So, but other than that, it does not have eggs. It's just very unique. So I'm going to let you guys see it. You need to try it because it's very different. Okay, here we go. I'm going to share my screen. It's a protein brownie recipe. Here we go. Oh, here we go. And I need to stop sharing one more time. And remember to press that button because otherwise you guys aren't going to hear the audio. Okay, here we go. And then I'm going to, okay, share. And we're going to pop over to this recipe here. I'm going to make it full screen. And
Hi, it's Brenda from the ProCare Health Team, and today we're going to be making some healthy chocolate brownies. And we have all of our ingredients kind of assembled out here. We are going to be using ProCare Health chocolate, and we're going to be using some vegan chocolate chips. And if you'd like, we have a seasonal dark chocolate that you could substitute for the chocolate and add in extra calcium and vitamin D as well. So we're first going to just go ahead and mix all of our ingredients. So I already have some bananas. They're chopped up and mashed up in here, pre-measured. And I have my peanut butter measured out here. And instead of peanut butter, if you prefer or have a nut allergy, you can use other forms of nut butters like almond or sunflower. Chocolate powder, and chocolate chips, cocoa powder, a little salt. I'm just going to kind of put a pinch of that here, and some vanilla extract. And instead of measuring it, I'm going to just guesstimate a little bit here. Got that. And now we're going to mix it all up. It's going to be rather thick. Bring all of these out of the way. And grab my baking dish. So I have parchment paper. Parchment paper just basically helps keep it from sticking to the pan. You could use that or cooking spray, whichever is easier. Still mixing just a tiny bit more. Okay. going to scoop this into the baking dish, and it is pretty thick. So just kind of be aware of that. You could double this recipe if you wanted to make a larger set of brownies for your family. Okay, and then just smooth it out. Okay, here we go. Preheated the oven to 350 degrees, so we're all ready to put it in and let it cook. Okay, I just took the brownies out of the oven and cut out a little piece. It's time to eat them. They smell so good, and they're nice and hot. There we go.
That's awesome.
Very different. Like, I've never had brownies without eggs or flour or whatever, like the box ones. So it was a different experience, but I kind of liked it. It's just a very different taste, and I love chocolate.
Mm-hmm.
So you can find different kinds of varying chocolate that have less sugar in them, dark chocolate versions. I did mention our ProCare chocolate. You could actually cut these up and make them in menus, because it does have calcium and vitamin D in it. So you could substitute and get some of your calcium in too as well. So any thoughts? Anybody have anything to say on that?
That's so great. So great. I love to see all the different variations of what to do with protein powders, and really just how to make sure that, you're still getting in your protein, but then also maybe doing things in a different way that also, if you want to have dessert in that way that you're like, oh my gosh, let's make a protein brownie. And then it covers so many of those like bases. So
there's one more recipe that I'm going to share. It's not a video. We just have it on our site. Is that okay? I'm just going to pull it up here, and let me copy this. I'm putting it in the Ask a Question feature again.
Awesome.
What is the recipe? So this is something that we actually made. I was a speaker for one of the recent, I think it was WLSFA, the Weight Loss Surgery Foundation of America. And I did something on protein. I did a little segment on protein, and I made chocolate, no-bake, sun butter protein balls. That's what we're going to call them. And, oh my gosh,
nice.
Like, it was so good. Let me get it pulled up first so that I can paste and go. Okay, so actually, guys, these are on our website. I'll show you how to get to them, too, just so that you guys can see. If you go up to, type in www.procarenow.com. Right here is our website. Under here, under support group handouts, is our support group stuff. And it's this very first Whey Isolate protein recipe. And you click on it, and it's going to bring up this. And I feel like they are so good, I have a hard time stopping. So, like, you kind of got to limit yourself somewhat. But they have still kind of, it's like, okay, you got to, like, they're good for you, but, they do have calories in them. They have 6 ingredients: oats, honey. In this recipe, we use sun butter, but you could also use just regular peanut butter. Sun butter is made with sunflower seed, the oil from sunflower seeds, or the butter from that, cocoa powder, and here we used chocolate protein powder, but we also, during the segment, we also did one whole batch with vanilla, and it was really good too. If you did it with the vanilla, I would suggest leaving out the cocoa powder and trying other stuff. Some other options would include basically chia seeds. I don't know if I put that in here. You could add peppermint oil to the chocolate ones for like a thin mint taste. Peanuts or dried fruit. There was so many suggestions, the group. if anybody else has ever made any kind of nut butter bar, nut protein balls, let us know what you've tried before too. So I'm going to stop sharing. So that recipe is in the Ask a Question feature as well. And I think, does ProCare have a receipt book? I wonder what that means.
Recipe book.
Oh, a recipe book. You know what? I am really excited to say we are working. We have on that same page. Let me share real quickly. I'm just going to kind of share because I got a discount code for all you folks that have been here with us. What ProCare Health is kind of known for is their multivitamins and their calcium products. And now we just came out with some protein products. We are going to be putting on our site a whole recipe page, which we're working feverishly on. But for right now, we do have, under the support group handouts, we have a bunch of different kinds of recipes right now that we're starting to add. There's the first one, but under recipes, air fryer, cooking around the holidays, whole foods, healthy food swaps, fall snacks. We did an interview with Maddie, and she had some recipes, a latte swap. Nice. So we're getting a collection of them. Also, I want to mention too, for any of you who've not tried out ProCare products, right under here, there's a free sample button, and just fill it out. Get you a free sample if you've not tried it before. I think my favorite products, so some of my favorite things are the one-a-day bariatric multivitamins, kind of our staple, what we're known for. They're under our products, bariatric multivitamin products. And then down here, we just came out with this new product. It is the multivitamin soft chews. And I absolutely love them because they do not upset my stomach whatsoever. Most people don't have problems with the capsules. But for whatever reason, I have to always take them with food. These soft chews, I can just eat any time of the day or whenever. And I also want to just mention too, the protein products. The protein products that we made with our videos, right here under proteins, guys. They're under that, and they're right here. I'm going to be giving you a discount code. They are right now an introductory pricing of $37.98 for a big bag, and these bags are pretty big, guys, as you can see, like comparatively.
Look, compared to you.
I feel like I'm kind of laughing because I'm going to stop sharing my screen. We always laugh because my husband and my son fish, and it's like if you hold the bag, like if you hold the fish right up here when they take the picture, it looks so much bigger. So the bag looks so big, but I mean, it's a normal size. Anyway, so that is that. And I'm going to put the discount code. It's protein10, but it actually does cover all products on the site and up through the end of the month. So I'm going to put down, here we go, discount code is protein10, but it covers all products to the end of the month, and I'll put that in the chat box. And what I want to say here too now, before we end too, is I know we're a little bit after, but I mean, thank you guys for hanging in with us because so much good information. And I also want to just say, I want to give Katie, I want to have you share your information because I mean, there might be somebody who might have a question or might want to reach out and connect with you, or
is it best to put it in the chat stuff?
Yeah,
I mean, I'll say it as well, but I should write it out too. So, by all means, if you know, I can help in any way. If it's a question, if it's my goodness, connecting you with myself or a colleague, if you're looking for, you know, individual attention, I mean, whatever, I definitely want to be able to help out in any way. And I know questions always come up. So that way I'm like, just reach out. So I'm putting my name in here. So my name is Katie Chapmon, and the last name is spelled a little bit different. It's Chapmon. I know you say it like MAN. And then you can reach me at katiechapman.com or kchapman@gmail.com. So I put kind of my website and my email address. It's probably the easiest way to reach me. So feel free to absolutely reach out if I can help in any way, or be a guide in anything. And
Yeah.
so, yeah.
And Katie's at a lot of these different conferences and events and things like that. So if you're coming to the ASMVS event, then look for Katie. She'll be there. That is, I have to look because I'm going
June.
June 5th or 6th through the 9th.
June 6th through the 9th.
Yes, in Dallas, Texas. Dallas, Texas. Good old Dallas.
Yeah. So I definitely, if anyone's at any of the conferences or events or anything, I'm usually like a flash of red hair that runs around. But I would love to just meet anyone and say hello. It would be so great to actually meet in person.
And there's a lot of comments here too. Meg says, and Meg, thank you for joining us. Meg's going to be on one of our upcoming calls, so I want to thank her. She's the one from Hawaii. She's joining on vacation. She says thanks for a great support session. Cindy says thank you for the wealth of information. Thank you, Cindy. And we have Lisa. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. Nicole says my coworker's last name is Chapman. I wonder what her coworker's first name is. Maybe you know her.
So funny. I'm like, there's not many of us out there. So Nicole, let me know, okay?
And Pam says this was awesome. Thank you. And I'm going to actually add the ProCare website because I didn't put that on that above. Madison Chapman.
Oh, now Madison. Okay, well, we'll figure it out. I was like, Nicole, plans for us.
I love great. You, Katie. Well, guys, I think I don't have anything else. We just really appreciate everybody else being on the call, and we hope we answered most of the questions. Maybe we missed some of them, but stay tuned. Katie has done. If you go to our channel too, which I'm going to pull up here, go to our. If you're not already. If you don't already follow us, I would invite you to come to our channel, follow us, and we have over 80 topics now. Katie has joined us. How many times, Katie, now have we done segments together?
Like 3 or 4, and we definitely we've covered.
I did food swaps for some reason. Let me try that again.
Yeah, I know that we've done. So I know that I've done protein just. I think 3 times, I want to say. And so that way, like, I kind of dive in deep and have slides and all that stuff. But really to map protein out, it's helpful. I know we've done, and I think we've done one on gut health, maybe, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I mean, there's always so many different things just to know in terms of overall health, but also overall health after and before surgery. So yeah, just hoping to help guide you as best I can. And
I wish I would have did some research before to be able. I spelled channel wrong. I can't. It's gonna drive me crazy. I can't fix that. But yeah, get on there and check it out. I know gut health, and I know you've done 2 segments already on protein.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. I'm trying to think. Maybe did we talk about vitamins before? I'm not sure.
We might have.
I know with ProCare you have.
Yeah. There's so many different things that we've been able to kind of discuss. So yeah, I love to circle back and always dive in deep on any of these things. So yeah.
Thank you, and thank you everybody else for being here. We appreciate it. And if anybody is needing to show attendance to their program, know that if you were on this call, it will be sent to your program. I usually wait about a week to get all the replays in, but we send attendance to a lot of different surgical programs for this. So I'll make sure and get those next week around this time. So
Awesome.
Love you guys.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great night.
All right.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.